And tell me what race you're running for and why are you running in this race?
I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives, Texas Congressional District 21. I'm running because I'm concerned about the future for my adult children and grandchildren. And I grew up in a more optimistic time, and I feel like we need to gain that back. And I've got some ideas about that. And so I'm doing it, like I say, for my kids, but for everybody's kids. I want the country to be a nicer country, and I want it to work for everybody.
Can you talk about your top 3 initiatives for your campaign or for if you're elected?
It's really interesting and difficult for me to narrow it to 3, and to me they're all connected. So as a primary candidate, my idea is I want to be able to run in the general election, and my thought is this book that I've written is called An Economy for All, and what I believe is that we have to get a more like-minded Congress, and it needs to be on the side of the people instead of on the side of the oligarchs. And so we need, the most important part of the job at first will just be to get plenty of us elected, and so that we can really make the economy work for everybody. But I care about all the issues that progressive Democrats typically care about. Civil rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, immigrants' rights, human rights in general. I care about all of those deeply. And in fact, it was a civil rights movement that kind of made me a Democrat in the first place, way back. But, I wish I hadn't said the word but. I believe that we Democrats have got to get more people voting Democrat and becoming lifelong Democrats, permanent Democrats. So that's part of why I've written the book and what my message is. I believe economics is the issue that can bring more people into our party, because I believe if we go fully into the old-fashioned New Deal agenda, that we can make the economy better for at least 80% of the people. I truly believe that, and so my number one issue then is the economy for all and a more perfect union. I believe that the country is going to have a hard time ever being a safe and optimistic place again until we're less divided. But being less divided does not mean I want to compromise on any of the issues. I think everybody should be on our side. When I say our side, I think we're all on the same side is the way I look at it. And so I believe in helping people understand the practicality of compassion. I think I've called myself a progressive Democrat, and I always say progressivism is both compassionate and practical, but the Democratic Party has not done a great job, and I love the Democratic Party, but I don't believe we've done a good enough job convincing people that it's practical. It's not just compassionate, it's also practical. And I've lately, instead of just saying that progressivism is both compassionate and practical, I'm just saying compassion is practical. It makes the country work better for everybody, is the way I see it.
Can you touch on a little bit of how you're separating your campaign from the other campaigns in this race, knowing there are several people and then one of the candidates is backed by President Trump and Governor Abbott?
Well, I have to admit that from the get-go, I've been thinking of the general election. And I was the first one to announce that I was a candidate, and I was kind of not even really thinking about a primary, and then primaries turns out to be more competitive than I thought it was going to be. And so my primary opponents, I think, are both great. I personally believe that I would be the better choice for the party because I think I have a strategy to bring more people in, to not just get the people. Last time, this district, of course, it's been changed a little bit, but we only got 36% of this district. I believe that Mr. Trump may be pushing some people our way this time. We may get a blue wave, and that's good. But we've got to do more than that. We've got to get them in and keep them with our side and try to get even more. And so I believe, just in the primary, that I have a better plan for winning in the general election. Now, in the general election, yes, several of them are, yeah, I see their signs where Trump, Trump backed and Trump supported. And I'm trying to run a positive campaign to try to say what we can do if you get enough of us in there. What we can do for you. We can get you health care. We can strengthen Social Security for the next generation, which is a bigger issue than maybe a lot of people realize. I've done a lot of research on that. We can win on the issues themselves if you get enough of us in there. And so I am going to do everything I can. I personally just think anybody who's in favor of a trickle-down system is in favor of a system that leaves a lot of people out. And I think, as I've watched it historically, it's leaving more and more people out. It's making it harder and harder for the average worker to make ends meet. My wife and I, my late wife and I, were both school teachers, and it was hard for us to raise our children back in the, well, our first was born in 1975. I'm aging myself, which I think is part of, is working against me in the primary, my age. But anyway, I was 75, in 1975 is when my oldest daughter was born. And then, so we raised kids through the end of the 70s and all the 80s and into the 90s. And it was hard, but it was doable. I find that it's really hard for a lot of people now when their health insurance premium is just as high as their rent. Groceries are extremely high. You got an internet bill that we didn't have when I was raising the family, and the phone bills are bigger than ever. And then you're trying to save for a down payment on a house that's unaffordable, and you're trying to save for your own retirement and save for your kids' college education. I believe college education should be free, just like public school education should be. If it can work there, it can work in college too. It actually keeps the economy going.
Just how are you setting yourself apart?
I have a master's degree in mathematics, which I put a lot of time into getting a master's degree in mathematics, bachelor's and a master's. My bachelor's was in math and music. So I've studied math and the history of math, but I would also say that I've studied history just as much as I've studied math. I just didn't get a degree in it. And I see just basically two economic styles that have existed in America since 1921 or even earlier. And the two can be called trickle-down is one, or ultra capitalistic or ultra free market, or however you want to label it. They all mean the same thing. And the other is what I would call the New Deal style or a progressive style. Some people would call it democratic socialism. All of those to me mean the same thing, in that it means using the public sector and the private sector together to make the economy work for everybody. And there's a quote in here of Roosevelt that says, in 1933, when he became president, and then the quote's from 1938, he said, when we started adding to the expense of government, right in the middle of the Depression, they started the CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, and all these things that were costing the taxpayers money, but the country got better instead of worse. It helped the whole economy. And so from 1933 to 1981, Democrats had the majority in both the House and the Senate, all but 4 years. That's a 48-year blue wave, I would call it. There were only 4 years that Democrats did not have both the House and the Senate. Since then, since Ronald Reagan got elected in 1980, Democrats have not held both the House and the Senate for more than 2 consecutive years. Every time they get the House and the Senate, they lose it 2 years later. And that's, to me, why we can't win on the issues. We don't convince the people to stay with us long enough to let us really show that we've got the better way. And so we've got to learn how to sell that better. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I think I would be the best candidate in the general election. Because no matter what, everybody that's a Republican would be in favor of continuing the economic system that we currently have. And I believe that the only reason we haven't had a depression since the Depression is because of the safeguards that were put in during that long stretch of the Democrats in charge. Social Security, the FDIC, the GI Bill, great public school systems throughout the nation. Eventually, the Civil Rights Acts, Medicare, Medicaid, all of those, we were moving forward on everything. And in my mind, it came to an abrupt halt when Ronald Reagan got elected. That is not meant to be an attack on his character. I think he probably believed what he was doing was the correct thing. I disagree with that. Now, he may have known he was doing a bad thing. I don't know, but I think he was doing a bad thing, and I think that all of those, particularly Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the FDIC, those 4 things have kept us from having another depression. And we haven't. When FDR signed the Social Security Act, he said this is to prevent future depressions. It's worked.
Is there anything about your campaign that you feel like people don't know that they should know?
Yes, because every time that I speak in front of a group, they say, "Oh, you got 2 minutes, right? You got 1.5 minutes," or, So yes, and yet I think what I've said here so far is a good summary of what I'm trying to get across. I truly believe that we've got to go back to that Roosevelt philosophy. I'm not giving Roosevelt all the credit. It's just he's the one that brought it in. But we've got to go back to that mindset. And I think Reagan turned a whole lot of people, made them believers in, just keep taxes down on the wealthy and they'll provide jobs for everybody. Well, they also eliminated jobs. AI is eliminating jobs right now, and the investors are pouring money into eliminating jobs. I'm not saying that they're always eliminating jobs. They do create some jobs. They also eliminate jobs, and I think consumers create jobs more than anything. And so, keeping programs like Social Security alive and great public schools. Like I said, my wife and I were teachers. And when I think of the teachers, the administrators, all the people that worked in the school, and the contractors, the companies that would build new schools. The school district where I worked, every year they were building 2 or 3 more schools. So all of that money that was tax money was driving the local economy as well. The school district was the largest employer in the community, and it kept everybody going. And to me, it's a nice circulates the money. And I'm not sure I answered the question. I get going, and then what was the question again?
Okay, I think that's it. Is there anything else that you think is super important that you want to add?
I want to add that I do like my primary opponents, and I'm quite a bit older than both of them. I'm also male, and they're both female, and I understand, the Democratic Party especially wanting somebody younger right now, and I do understand that. At the same time, I really have been thinking about this and working on it for a long time, and I think I know what we need to do. And here, this is the other important thing. If I am the primary candidate, and even if I'm not, if I am the general election candidate, and even if I don't win the primary, but I think I have a better chance of pulling this off if I do win the primary, I want to help all Democrats win. I want the kind of message, I would like to try to immediately get to know the other candidates and say, let's run. We need to treat this midterm election like a presidential year. We've got to win it. Of course, I'm working. That's my belief, obviously. We, the Democrats, have got to win it. And we've got to win it by not just expecting a blue wave that's kind of maybe happening, maybe not, we can't count on it. But we need to not just win on that alone. We've got to convince people that we can make the economy better for everybody. And once we make the economy better, we can also win on all the other issues, I think. Because once we got enough of us in there, because that's, if you think about it, America has been, the people of America are so divided that they elect a divided Congress. And it just goes back and forth, although in the last 40 years, Democrats get it for a couple of years, and then Republicans get it for 6. And then when Clinton got elected, he had a Democratic House and Senate his first 2 years, had a Republican House and Senate the next 6 years. Same thing happened for Obama. Biden didn't really even have the House and the Senate his first 2 years because it said we had 50-50 senators, but 2 of the Democratic senators always voted with the Republicans at that time. So Biden didn't even have the luxury of having both the House and the Senate at all. And so again, I'm kind of restating what I've said, but I think it's important for the voters to know that if voters say, well, why haven't you gotten us health care? Why haven't you done this or this? We haven't won long enough. And as long as America is just going back and forth like this, people talk about a do-nothing Congress. Well, it's a do-nothing Congress because the people have voted for a do-nothing Congress because the people are as divided as the Congress. And we've got to get the people a little more together, I believe.